With the Family Foundation, I'm the most proud. We brought a mobile medical van to an orphanage in Africa, and it goes to local villages where the children actually come from. I say that the philanthropic world and the charity world is very similar to business. Right now, construction-wise, we're building a community center in the town my grandfather grew up in Italy. Yeah, it's in the mountains, and it's the majority of the people who live there a little bit older. So we would like to give them a center where they can come together and their needs are met.
I found some healing through psychedelics. I found such healing through that I know there's different organizations out there that help veterans, and there's a lot of research going on right now.
Mental health it's everything. That then is how we view the world, how we contribute to the world. If our mental health isn't in a functioning spot, we're not going to really be able to see the beauty in the world.
Welcome back to the Tim Teaches podcast. I'm your host, Tim McCoy. Today, I'm joined by Morgan DeNicola. Morgan is the executive director of the DeNicola Family Foundation. In addition to her work with the foundation, Morgan serves as the vice chair of the Humpty Dumpty Institute, a New York-based nonprofit organization. HDI partners with the U.S. Congress, the United Nations, international embassies, and their programs focus on cultural diplomacy, youth engagement, and humanitarian efforts. Morgan, welcome to Tim Teaches. That's a lot.
It is a lot. Thank you for having me here.
Absolutely. You got your hands, looks like, in all kinds of stuff. If you wouldn't mind, kind of introduce yourself to people, and you got two different organizations going on, and I want to talk about both of them.
Absolutely. So I run our family foundation. I am the child of serial entrepreneurs. Been really lucky to kind of grow up in the business world, watched my parents build these businesses from nothing. And so I've been able to learn a lot about the business world. And then since we've just been so lucky in everything that we've done, we decided as a family, it's time to give back. So we started as a tiny charity that was Cosmo Cares, that then evolved into our family foundation, the DeNicola Family Foundation. And I run our day-to-day operations locally and globally with the help of my assistant, Natalie, who does a lot of our programs, and the guidance of the Don, Cosmo, my father. So that's my day-to-day. And then I sit as the vice chair to the Humpty Dumpty Institute. We just call it HDI, a little bit easier for people around the world, even though everybody does love to say Humpty Dumpty. Yeah. And we work a lot with cultural diplomacy, sitting down with different groups of people, engaging in different cultural conversations, as well as having governmental conversations, bringing members of Congress to different embassies around the world to learn from one another and try to resolve global and local issues.
Nice. So your parents, they're serial entrepreneurs. What did they do before this to kind of get into this world?
First, they started actually with a software company. They made the software that ran the machines that print our boxes. So, you know how everything comes in a box. Very few people think about the fact that those machines need to run on software. So my parents were in almost every box plant across the United States. And then from there, they actually went into healthcare and did a lot of mobile technology in healthcare. And then they set up a call-in center basically to help customers with a lot of those mobile technologies. And then from there, we went into publishing. We are part of Chicken Soup for the Soul. To talent management. We also work a lot with professional athletes. One of our clients is Patrick Mahomes. So we're also in, talent management. So we've really been in a little bit of everything. And we're a family that gets bored very easily. So we like to just kind of keep going and keep seeing what we can do, what we can be a part of.
What do you think your biggest accomplishment that your organization has tackled, or what's your biggest project you've tackled, and how did that benefit people?
With the Family Foundation, I'm the most proud. We brought a mobile medical van to an orphanage in Africa, and it goes to local villages where the children actually come from. to keep relations going with the villagers, to show them, nobody took the children. They bring basic healthcare, food, supplies, bring the children back and forth. So it keeps those relations going, as well as, making sure they have very basic medical needs met. But we've done a lot of things locally that I'm really proud of, trying to get washers and dryers in schools. So children that can't really wash their clothes at home have a place that they can wash their clothes. We've done a lot of pantry programs to make sure children with food insecurity are able to get food. I feel like there are so many things that I am very proud to be a part of. Our big one kind of coming up is we're starting to acknowledge younger children who are starting to give back to their communities. So it's a Rising Star Award that we are going to be rewarding to children, as well as a little bit of money towards whatever it is that they are doing to try to encourage them at a young age to keep giving back to their communities and keep striving for that philanthropic mindset.
Are you guys raising money on the outside, or are you guys a NGO where you're I know like right now in the news, everything's USAID and they're yanking funding from all these different organizations. Is that something you guys have to deal with?
We, as a foundation, do not right now. We do a lot of like sponsorships, one-on-one donors. We are also very lucky to be slightly self-sustaining. So because of all the businesses that we've run, we've been able to kind of create a fund that pays salaries and overhead. So any donations that we get do not pay my salary. It goes directly towards programs. But with the NGO that I sit vice chair as, yes, certain programs fundings keep getting frozen and then unfrozen. So that's a little bit more difficult, but they do make it very clear which programs they're still allowing. So there are still cultural programs. There hasn't been a complete and total shutdown where we're not able to do these cultural programs. They still exist. You just kind of have to find them, and you have to be a little bit more selective on your verbiage and the way you come at some of these programs to make sure you stay within the guidelines of the current administration.
Yeah, it seems like, you watch different channels and some people are like, it was a free for all and they're just blowing money. And then other people, there's organizations out there that are doing such good. And, I've heard of people losing funding. And so that's a tough environment right now for a lot of people. I see you got the goat back there behind you, Bill Clinton. I had the pleasure of meeting him for 1 second, grabbing a handshake. That was a interesting experience. Like he's a very charismatic guy, but they're doing all kinds of work out there too. Have you partnered or worked with them closely, or is that just a one-off picture?
No, this was actually an incredibly funny story. I was able to take some members of Congress to Rwanda for the commemoration of the Tutsi genocide. It was a very important trip, not only to see the progress that the Rwandans have made since '93 and how they've kind of come together to overcome a lot, but also to kind of remind the world of genocides and what it means to actually be in a situation where a group of people is really going through being wiped out for who they are. And we were there, and it was big. There were leaders, I think, from 55 different countries and nations. It was a very big event. And we found out while we were there, I think it was the night before, that our U.S. representative was Bill Clinton.
Right.
And one of the staffers that I was there with, she's an incredible human being. I kind of got a text message from my dad that said, I will give you a raise. Obviously, I don't really get raises.
Yeah.
It was just a challenge that he's like, I will give you a raise if you manage to get in front of Bill Clinton. And I love a good bet, even if it's a gentleman's bet. So I was like, oh, how am I going to get in front of a president? So I was talking to some of the staffers that were there, and I was like, listen, do you know it? Could you help me out just to take this picture to send to my father? And she was incredible. She's like, let me send a few text messages. And she did. And she knew some of the people that were there. And the next thing I know, she's like, we need to move fast and we need to be quiet. And she took this call, and he clearly needed a break to step away because he hung out with us for a while, and we had a really fun, interesting conversation. He's very humble, but articulate and approachable. And it was a really great 15, 20 minutes that we got to kind of hang out and talk to him. So, and I think I still owe her for getting in front of him.
Did your dad pay up?
He owes me. He was shocked. So, I took the picture and I immediately sent it to him without saying anything. I just sent it to him.
That's awesome.
Like, are you kidding me? And I said, don't bet me. Don't challenge me.
You're gonna win.
I have to win. I come from a family that we have to win. We take our bets very seriously. So it was a good time. And now my dad is a little bit more selective when he challenges me.
I love it. So what's kind of the biggest challenge that you guys face as a nonprofit? Is it raising money, or is it just the getting out to the different areas that you want to help and meeting up with people, stuff like that?
I think fundraising still is very difficult. And since 2016, individual donors has drastically declined. We're kind of continuing to see the decline, and it has a lot to do with cost of living. It's very hard for people to be able to donate money. So a lot of the times you have to go for corporate sponsorships and those larger groups to kind of team up and work together. So that's always difficult because you have to, it stinks to say that you have to convince somebody to join you in doing something. And it's not to say that there aren't people who have their passions or their things that they're passionate about, but you have to convince them to join you. Mm-hmm. I say that the philanthropic world and the charity world is very similar to business, despite what I thought it was going to be when I got it. It is very similar to business. You have to sell the idea of why this would benefit somebody else. You have to still deal with that, and then the community's engagement. Locally, that's a lot easier. Everybody really does want to get involved. So you just have to get creative as to how to involve everybody. And I like to say it's not always money, it's time, it's unique ideas, it's connections that really kind of help these charitable organizations reach that sustainability. But then the other issue is if you want to go global, a lot of the times it's more cultural differences, and you have to really have that understanding and respect of whatever country you're going into, what they want to see that is accomplished. Mm-hmm. And what you have to respect their cultures and their norms and really listen and be understanding. And sometimes that's a little bit more difficult, especially trying to get supplies. We've had some issues in Africa because every time you cross a border, there seems to be different rules, different regulations, different issues. Processes globally take a very long time. You have to have that understanding of you're investing years. It's not, you'll see a result in a year. You're talking 3, 4, 5 years, and you have to have that. It's a marathon, that idea of how long this is going to take, and not lose that hope and faith in your vision of, okay, I'm not seeing it right away. Because I think Americans, we want to get it done. We want to see it. We want to feel it. And globally, it doesn't work like that. So I would say that's our biggest issue globally. I'm an instant gratification kind of a guy. I'm like, if it's not happening right now, what am I doing wrong? And so having patience, I mean, that is a big deal. What's kind of your biggest project that you guys are working on right now, and what can people do to help you? Right now, construction-wise, we're building a community center in the town my grandfather grew up in Italy. So, it's in the mountains, and it's the majority of the people who live there are a little bit older. So we would like to give them a center where they can come together and their needs are met. And so we're working on that. Again, that is an incredibly slow process, but we have a lot of great people there that are helping us out in executing that. I'm most excited by next year. We will be launching, we have a humanitarian award that is given to NFL players and their staff every year in the host Super Bowl city. And it acknowledges players in the community who give back to their communities, as well as front staff and employees that really kind of are keeping that charitable feeling going. But I want to branch out into sciences and healthcare. So by 2026, we would like to launch a science, healthcare, humanitarian award where we recognize people that are continuing to do great work and helping either fund research or fund their day-to-day programs. So that eventually we'll be looking for sponsorships to be a part of that and to bring us nominees. And we'll really want the engagement from everyone in the United States, hopefully, that will want to nominate people or be a part of it. So right now it's more we're just wanting engagement with the community, seeing locally, globally, who wants to see what. And then my job is to just kind of put the pieces together and see what's possible, plausible, and how to make it sustainable.
So are people kind of just sending you different projects that need to happen, and then you kind of go through them and say, yes, we can maybe make this happen? Or how are you finding your projects and selecting them?
A lot of it's just luckily social media. You have a lot of people reach out to us on Facebook, Instagram. Also, our website has a landing page that you can say, this is a need. We do prefer somebody to say this is a need, but also be a part of it. Help us with ideas on how to accomplish that. But social media has been great for that. We follow a lot of other groups. So we like to kind of lift other groups up, our little groups in our neighborhood that you haven't really heard of, but they have this little handle or, an Instagram page. We like to follow. And if they're like, we're looking for book bags. Oh, you know what? I know somebody, I can procure you, 60 to 100 book bags. So we reach out and we engage with them and we see how we can kind of continue this partnership all over and then connect dots for other groups.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm a veteran. And so I kind of got into this space because I dealt with like PTSD and stuff like that. I was also in law enforcement, stuff like that. But now I'm kind of on the outside, and I found some healing through psychedelics, which is, whatever your thoughts on that. But, I found such healing through that I know there's different organizations out there that help veterans, and there's a lot of research going on right now. But to be able to find sponsors and help send some of these guys to these different retreats and stuff, I've thought about it, and I'm like, how would you go about starting an organization like, a nonprofit? I don't even know how you even get your toe in the water for something like that, where you could start helping. Is it easy, or is it like super hard to start one of these nonprofits?
It's not easy to become a part of a team. So your best bet would probably be, I love to say, do your due diligence, go and see what other groups are doing. See if you can be a part and kind of learn. And then your best point would be learning all of the things that are going right for them and all of the things that you're like, maybe I would change that. And as you're doing that, find more and more partners. So if somebody else, a group, a local butcher is like, no, I want to be a part of that, I would love to sponsor you. So then you would build off of that and create your network first. So that's what I like to always say is learn, educate yourself on other groups that are doing it. Get your own unique idea and perspective. Again, that's selling you. Why are you different? How are you going to do it differently? And then have a network already built that's like, no. When you get this launched, come back to me. Yeah. When you are ready, come back to me. And then once you are launched, you go and you get those partners and start small. It's always important to not burn yourself out or lose hope in what it is you're doing. Like even our family foundation started as Cosmo Cares. You can have these grand ideas, but you have to figure out what is going to lie in front of you. And the only way you can do that is by learning from other individuals who have already done it and how you would do it differently. So it's not easy. And again, it's one of those things where you really have to take the time and know it's going to be a process and you're going to have some failures. I never like to say failures if you learn from it.
Yeah.
A lot of programs that I've done that, in my opinion, were not successes. They were one-offs. And I hate that. I hate one-off programs that really we didn't accomplish what we really set out to do. Did we help people? Yes. But there are going to be a lot of times along the way that it's not going to end up how you envision it. But you just have to kind of reevaluate, change it a little bit, change your messaging, change your approach a little bit, and then keep going. So it's kind of like studying to be a surgeon, right? You're like, I want to be a surgeon. Well, you got a few years ahead of you before you're going to start doing surgery.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, there's a lot of organizations out there doing it, and it's just kind of hard to figure out which one is the best. But, I found such a benefit to it that I'm like, man, I want to share this with other people, but that's not why we're here. I just,
Loop though, because one of our pillars and our passions is global health, and that is global health. And I know that whatever helps people helps people. I don't really find a lot of things to be very, oh, hush, hush. If it helps somebody, it helps somebody. And if it's new research, that's fascinating. I've heard a lot about that, and it's helped a lot of people. So keep us in the loop if you start
for sure. Yeah, so my brother-in-law is on the board of directors for a place called Rhythmia Life Advancement Center. It's an ayahuasca retreat, and people hear that and they're like, ooh, ayahuasca, but it's a super nice, 5-star bougie place down in Costa Rica that really, they're the only licensed medical facility in the world, as far as I know. But, they're not directed specifically towards veterans. They deal with tons of people. They have, Joe Biden's brother, Martin Luther King Jr., Ron White, all these different people on their board. So they're a well-known Cesar Millan. I don't know if you heard the dog whisperer. He's on the, yeah. So they got a whole crew of people on there. And then my brother-in-law is on there, but he sent me down there, and it really helped me. So talking with him, he knows I'm into the veteran healing space. And so he's like, man, let's do a Veterans Week and see if we can get some guys down there. So that was literally yesterday. So I'm like, ooh, I'm bouncing this idea of somebody who knows something about
I love
this.
it. Yeah. Keep me in the loop with that.
You guys are dealing with you got your hands in all kinds of different stuff. Like, what's your favorite?
My favorite is cultural diplomacy, but the reason it's my favorite is because it's the hardest.
Yeah.
I personally find it to be the hardest because it involves your own ability to have self-control, have an awareness that you don't know everything, and have an awareness of the world around you as a whole. I know that it's becoming more and more difficult for people to really include and be a part of groups that their opinions or lifestyles don't align with. But personally, through my experience and my ability to continue to work with different groups of people, I learn more about myself. I learn a lot more about different perspectives and an understanding of where people are coming from. I realize that a lot of people have the same needs, the same wants, the same desires. We just all go about it differently. But when you kind of go through all of it, it's very similar, and it's a reminder that we're all human. But I think it takes a lot of self-control and a willingness of are you able to put yourself, your own perspectives, your own opinions in the backseat for something that is greater than you. And I think that it's difficult, but that's why I love it. And every time I engage with an individual that's going in, I'm like, oh my God, how am I going to do this? And I'm able to do it. I feel like I've just flexed a muscle that I've never flexed before. And it makes me feel good. It makes me feel like I'm accomplishing a lost art in a weird way. And I suffer with anxiety and depression pretty bad. And I realized with every exercise of this, with every time I've sat down with somebody that in a weird way frustrates me or makes me angry, my anxiety gets less and less the next time I go to engage with somebody in any circumstance. And then my depression of feeling not heard or not seen or not included or just, being this small kind of goes away too, because you're able to interact with more and more people and feel like you're more of a part of the world. So I think diplomacy and the experiencing of and sharing of different cultures personally for me is my absolute favorite, but a close second would probably be conservation. I love animals, love the environment. That's where I go when I've had too much people.
Yeah.
So that's the other side of that coin.
That's awesome, because like a lot of people are dealing with anxiety and depression, stuff like that. I mean, that was my whole jam as far as doing ayahuasca, but people don't want to talk about it. But the more people are willing to open up and speak about it, it's like everybody's dealing with these issues, it's not, you're not alone. It's just how we handle it and talking to people and putting myself out there, like this is uncomfortable for me. I've never been a person who's the walk in the room and talk to a stranger, never, and so, I think we are helping ourselves by putting ourselves out there, and people can learn from that and grow, and it does help ourselves. So the fact that you're willing to even bring it up, just even in a little snippet, is huge. No, it really is. You're helping people by saying that, and people out there watching, like I hammer mental health all the time. It's I'm not a doctor or nothing like that, but it's so important to be able to talk to people and say, hey man, I'm struggling or whatever. And so we kind of took that in a little side road there, but
mental health it's everything. That then is how we view the world, how we contribute to the world. If our mental health isn't in a functioning spot, we're not going to really be able to see the beauty in the world or make those connections with people, or really ourselves contribute what we could potentially be contributing if we're not in the right frame of mind. So it is in everything you do. And I think that the transparency is so important.
Mm-hmm. What does Morgan like to do when she's not doing this type of work?
I have a zoo at home. I've always had a ton of animals. I've had everything, basically. Right now, I seem to keep adopting dogs. I'm at 3 and a cat, and I have 2 tortoises and a lizard. I had my rabbit and my ferret had passed. But yeah, I have a zoo of animals. Me and my wife like to garden. So we have a very big garden that is where we go when we need to just completely, disconnect from the world, and then learning how to like can your own vegetables, and then learning different recipes. I love to cook and bake, especially bake when I call it food therapy. If you find me on TikTok, and of it is me just baking. But that's where I go to completely kind of clear my brain, because I like to say, you can't be thinking about anything else or you're going to burn something. Like there literally cannot, or you're going to mess up. So I like to disconnect, and bake and cook are my big things. But then you just have to watch your weight, because I did a lot of baking. And then all of a sudden I'm up like 30 pounds. Like,
so easy to do. How old are your tortoises, and how long will they live?
They will live over 50 years. They were a gift to me, and I was so happy when I got them, and I didn't realize that now I have to leave them in my will. So if my kids are listening, you guys will be getting some tortoises. Yeah, so I've had them almost 10 years, and they're still
to go.
they're still technically babies. My leopard gecko I got in 6th grade, and yeah, they really don't tell you the truth about how long those suckers live.
How long do they live?
Well, originally when I got him, I think they said like 15 years. I can tell you 15 years ago, I was not in 6th grade. So definitely a lot longer than 15 years.
Oh my gosh. I love that. Like, I like to hear about people's backgrounds a little bit more so than just what they do, because it shines the human element on what you're doing. And we all have normal lives outside of, our helping people and all the normal stuff we do. So thanks for sharing a little bit about yourself. How long have you been married?
2019. So 5 years. We've been married for 5 years, and we got married and COVID hits, and we were working like opposite schedules. So I worked during the day, my wife worked nights. We were like, oh, this is such a great kind of, spent weekends together, but then during the week we kind of did our own thing. Then we got married and COVID hit, and we were just on top of each other. We're like, well, this marriage is going to get tested right away. But we've gone through everything together, and we just have a lot of honesty with each other, but we have a very similar sense of humor. We make a lot of jokes. We quote Family Guy a lot. We have kind of dark, weird sense of humor. So every day, no matter our moods, we try to make each other laugh. And Yeah, I had a different shirt on this morning that was like this flowing blouse. And she just was like, hey, are you gonna go looking for Peter Pan? Yeah, like we just like to kind of mess with each other throughout the days when we see each other. But
Oh,
I having a good sense of humor, in my opinion, is key to a happy marriage.
yeah, yeah. I know a couple of people who got together and then COVID hit, and it was like, yeah, we're living together in this house and not going anywhere for 2 years or whatever it was. That definitely tests you. You made it out of it, so that's good.
She always said that she would always be like, I love you, but you need to get the hell away from me.
Yeah,
I
go
get
go garden.
go do something.
So do you travel a lot for, obviously you're in Africa and all over the place. Do you travel quite a bit for your work?
Yeah, it depends on where I'm needed, and I'll get maybe like 3 weeks notice, and I'll
Mhm.
have to kind of figure it out from there. I travel a lot, mostly to back and forth to Italy. We do a lot in Italy, so I'm working on my dual citizenship there, but
Nice.
it really depends on the programs and what funding gets released and what different embassies want to be doing or members of different parts of government and if they want the chair or the vice chair to go on these trips. But I'm always willing because I also learn. I'm terrified of airplanes.
Are you?
Yeah, but I try to remember what I'm trying to accomplish and I'll get on there. But yeah, I travel pretty frequently and but I love it. I love it.
Yeah, you're dealing with people in Congress, the UN, stuff like that. Like, what's that world like? I'm totally outside of that. Have you spent much time in Washington, D.C. and hobnobbing with all the who's who?
It's so funny because I think that the media portrays members of government very differently. They're people. They're
Mhm.
people that very much also have great sense of humor. Well, not all of them, but most of them do. And when they clock out, they're like, okay, we need breaks. They're very, very human. And I think we forget that because we have this expectation of them kind of being perfect. Um, but they're just like anybody else, especially when you're able to kind of get them. I get to see both sides, especially on the trips that we take is, we're in sessions for up to 10 hours a day, but then after that you have, an hour or two of dinner before you get to go to bed. So I've had the pleasure of seeing them work very diligently and hard. And then afterwards, kind of like loosen the tie or kick off their shoes and you get to see the more human side. So I've been really lucky to see Republicans, Democrats, liberals, conservatives, and when they kick off their shoes they're very similar. Very
Yeah.
similar.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of this stuff is kind of in front of the cameras. They're just going at each other, but you see them playing golf together and having dinners together and stuff like that. Honestly, that's how it needs to be. I wish that there was less of this, nobody's working together. They at least in front of the cameras, and it's like all this divisiveness. It drives me crazy. It's like we could get so much more done if people just got along. We're
Yeah.
all do. Everybody's trying to help each other. Help out humanity. They're just coming at it from different perspectives, and so it's so frustrating to me to be like, no, because I see things on both sides that I like and dislike, and I've always been that way. But, it's any aspirations of going into government for you?
I've been asked this question for the past 9 years. People are like, "Oh, have you ever thought?" And my answer is always no.
Yeah.
And the reason it's no is I do get sensitive. I'm a sensitive person, so you would either see me completely cracked, cursing all over the place, or crying. No, I'm more of a teacher. I think my job is to give people that full perspective and opportunity to see things from all angles, be a confident, be somebody that they can talk to, relate to, and have in their corner, regardless of what that is, and kind of give people opportunities.
Yeah.
That I feel like that's more my role in this big world and universe is to just try to give people a chance and to give them opportunities.
You're the type of people we need, though, the ones who don't want to go to Washington.
Well, I also always worry because, if you talk to my friends that have known me since, I was 18, 19, 20 years old, they laugh at what I do now because they're like, oh my God, I remember this girl who on her, 21st birthday was doing car bombs in Vegas. It was, I lived I lived an entire lifetime in my 20s. We'll just
Perfect.
kind of put it that way. So I don't know. I'm always afraid of it seeming, I don't know, like you've gone one way or the other. It just, I feel like your life then gets put under a microscope, and
Yeah.
I need to
I
still
feel
be
ya.
able to and breathe and allow myself to do what I do when these cameras are off.
Yeah, I think most people would not want to have their life drugged through the media, and we've all got stuff out there that we're not embarrassed of, but you may not want out there, or maybe embarrassed of, whatever. But well, good for you. At least you know that.
Never
Yeah,
embarrassed. I am who I am today because of the things that
totally.
I've done. But I do have to say I'm very happy that smartphones were after.
100%. Um, so on like the Humpty Dumpty side of things, what kind of stuff are you working on with them right now, and what kind of help do they need, and how can people contribute?
The Humpty Dumpty, because it's funded, most of us, we get our funding from other embassies. So it's government funded.
Mhm.
We don't really have any outside funding opportunities. We are thinking about opening it up to do more cultural programs where we would open it up to privately funded organizations. But right now, it's just more the support of people around the world to start opening themselves up to the idea of embracing other cultures and have an understanding that these programs that we do are important. Relations with the world around us are extremely important for our evolution as Americans, because if we can learn from what other nations are doing, we can make sure we either don't repeat things or we do things similar or slightly different. We need to be learning from one another and also have an understanding that every nation is connected. We have a global economy. We have global trade. So there needs to be these relationships with one another and this exchange of ideas and thoughts. And that's how we continue to grow and work together. So I think more on the HDI front, it's have a willingness to try a different type of food, listen to a different type of music, watch a movie that was made in another country, read some press outside of the United States. It's starting to kind of open yourself up to the idea of different isn't bad. And it can bring a lot of opportunities for you to grow and be even more of a proud American. It's not taking anything away from you being an American. It just gives you an opportunity to continue to learn and grow. So that's my words of wisdom, is to continue to encourage our growth. And if you don't want to be a part of it, that's fine. But try not to hinder other people who want to continue to experience other cultures.
What am I missing? I'm sure we got a lot more we could chat about, but I don't want to take up your entire Saturday. Is there anything we're missing here?
I think we pretty much covered it all.
Okay. Well, yeah, I always like to throw that question out there because sometimes people are like, oh man, he didn't bring up this or that. But I love what you're doing. Humanitarian work and, other cultures. Like I've traveled around the world quite a bit, and America, we're very blessed. This country is incredible, and people need to keep sight of that, because we are very, very fortunate, and there's a lot of people who would love to be in this country and have what we have. But there's so many other beautiful places around the world that they have a fantastic culture and they bring something to humanity. So get outside of the box, get out of the United States, go travel the world, and check some of these other places out and bring your money and your economy to them and help them grow in the area they're at. But Morgan, I appreciate you joining me. I'm thankful for the work you guys are doing, and I will tag you. What's your guys' websites?
It's DeNicola and it's also the DeNicola Family Foundation on Instagram and Facebook. So please feel free to reach out, send emails. You're not getting some stranger on the other end. I read all of those. So don't hesitate. I am a human being that will listen to you and want to engage with you and have you join us. Join our mission to just try to make the world a little bit better for somebody in a small way.
Absolutely. Morgan, thank you so much for joining me. If you got value out of this, please share it and subscribe, and reach out to Morgan. I appreciate everybody listening. Thank you.